Excerpt from the diary of the Honourable Lady Mahon, compiled in 1956 when she was 78.
Everyone went up to bed carrying a lighted candle. On the table in the hall by the drawing-room door, every evening the bedroom candlesticks were set out. In the middle was a small oil lamp, the glass of which could be tipped up by a handle to expose the flame to light the candles. A good many relations on the Spencer side of the family used to come and stay. The one most beloved by all was Admiral Spencer, brother to Caroline, Lady Clonbrok. Uncle Johnny, he was often at Clonbrok. He must have been much fairer than most Spencers. I remember quite well his kind grey eyes, his smooth, mousy-coloured hair parted in the middle, and his rather hoarse, leisurely voice. He was, strange to say, colour-blind, but never, we were told, confused red and green lights. He could hardly otherwise have become an admiral, one would think. He died in October 1888, aged 72. Another visitor I remember was Isabella Blatchford, a daughter of Lady Isabella Blatchford. She was unlike her dignified mother, a funny, squeaky little old lady. She once came out blackberrying with us in a black lace cap, which caught on every bramble, to Lady Helen's exasperation. Her maid, whom we call Miss Oliver, was a great friend of ours. We were much impressed when the Clonbrok maids told us she was going to marry the son of a coachman in Buckingham Palace. Such a grand coachman that he only drove crowned heads. I have said we did not see very much of Grandpapa. In our early days, we did not even see the aunts very much. Mother had a great fear of our being a nuisance to them and kept us very much out of their way. When we went downstairs, we were always in her room, not to the sitting room or the ground floor, where they sat all day. After dinner, they, Grandpapa and our parents, spent the rest of the evening all together in the drawing room. But by that time, we were in bed. As long as we were nursery children, our chief friends in the house was our dear nurse, Mamie, the aunt's two maids and mother's maid. We were in and out of the workroom, which was opposite the nursery, all day. Their interests were ours. For instance, we thought it outrageous if Aunt Helen to scold one of them for picking roses on the terrace while the family were at church. Mamie, our nurse, was our most beloved second mother. We were with her, of course, for more hours every day than with our real mother, whom we saw in the ordinary way, at that stage of our lives, chiefly at state times. We went to say good morning and for her to hear us say our prayers, as she was finishing dressing every morning. Moppy once finished her prayers with, "Our boys," which she thought as good as "our men." We were with Mother again when she came up to her room after breakfast, before Mamie took us out for a little time after lunch and for the usual children's hour after tea. I never remember ever seeing my father in the nursery. On Mamie we depended for everything. She read to us by the hour, told us stories, made clothes for our dolls, went everywhere with us. She never had a day out, or even a half day. Such things then were unknown. She never even went away for a holiday between 1880 and 1890. We were never very happy when she left, the day the nursery to go down to a servants' dance, or sometimes to Sunday evening prayers in the hall, though usually Mother came to sit in the nursery instead. Those prayers were held at 10 p.m. on Sunday evenings. The family sat on a row of chairs backing onto the fireplace. The servants opposite in strict order of precedence. Grandpapa read the evening service, my father the lessons, Aunt Helen played the organ, chants, and a hymn. As Grandpapa, 4 of the aunts, and several servants were all musical, the singing was really quite good. We were all awake. The sound came up to our longing ears. How wonderful to be old enough to be down there. The transport on Sunday mornings to Ahascra Church and back of such a large family and so many servants was rather a problem. On Christmas Day 1871, Mother's diary had said 23 from this house to church. There were, however, very seldom as many as that to be conveyed. The bus holding 8 inside and 2 or 3 on the top, on a seat behind the box seat, took the family, but it was not often loaded to capacity. 13 people, counting coachman and footman, out of consideration for the horses. Some people usually walked to church and some back. In fine weather, they walked across the fields, starting from the beginning of the avenue and coming out on the high road at the bottom of the hill before Ahascra Bridge. I can just remember Grandpapa still doing the 2.5-mile walk, mischievously slipping away early, determined not to be helped over a difficult ladder stile at the boundary of the domain, on the fence at Caherdaniel, and my father pursuing him in hope of overtaking him in time. The 11:30 a.m. service was long in those days. Morning prayer, litany, commandments, epistle and gospel, sermon and 3 hymns, except on Sacrament Sunday, when the litany was omitted. The carriages were put up in the rectory stables. The coachman always slipped out in time to bring the bus up to the transept door, exactly as the service ended. The family must not be kept waiting. Those who walked back found lunch already in full swing. The car, horse car of course, holding 4 and the driver took servants to church. About 8 usually went, half walking one way and half the other. Mrs. Dent, the housekeeper, used to come up to the top passage every Sunday morning to find out which maids wanted to go to church, so that she could arrange about seats on the car. She often walked herself to save the underservants' shoes, which she said the hard roads wore out. A scullery maid's wages were then about £9 per annum.